Welcome to the Frequency Files. Thanks for joining us as we explore the vibrations, forms, and creations and mechanisms behind them that inform the nature of existence. This is part 2 of our interview with Haran Singham. Enjoy the final piece. You've worked in these, as you were mentioning, with the aged care system and then in other mainstream spaces that maybe don't always use or are receptive to these kinds of additional tools. How do you straddle those worlds, and how can we reimagine them?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think one of the things that I do when I work in the space that's more mainstream, I just do what they ask me to do. What that means is my for example, one of my managers, she was a psychologist. I told her what I do, and she's also a healer as well. She teaches meditation, and she believes in these things as well. Then she said, "Hey, Haran, in this space, just use all the evidence-based tools. These are CBT. So when scientists talk about or psychologists talk about evidence-based tools, these are, some of the people might do PhD or whatever, and then they um, prove this particular technique actually works. But there are hundreds and thousands of techniques out there. Not everybody's going to go into it and then do a PhD in it to prove it.
Clinical trial and a da da
Just
da. Yeah.
yeah, just know it works. So for example, if I want to cook rice, for example, I don't need someone with PhD to tell me that you have to pour in some water and you have to boil it to get rice so you can eat it. But this is what's happening in the mainstream. Otherwise, we can't use. Nowadays, we can still use like meditation and some breathing techniques and all that as well. But at the same time, we can only use certain particular types of modalities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure. And I understand like that serves a function to have guardrails
yeah,
because there's not always modalities that are 100% clean or effective, or yeah, like I don't want to get too deep into that, but obviously you're bringing your frequency to being there, and that's amazing, you know.
that's right. I mean, when I'm facilitating a group or when I'm seeing someone one on one, I'm creating pillar of light, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Work there. So there's no touch, no, I'm not touching them or doing a little bit of energy work there just to make sure the environment is energetically hygienic and they also benefit from that.
Mm, mm, mm. For people who are not familiar with the concept of energy hygiene, could you unpack that for us a little bit more?
Yeah, yeah. Well, hygiene is about, it can be our negative thoughts. It can be some sort of deceased energy. So what I mean by that is sometimes our body or organs can use up certain energy and then it will expel into the environment as well. Sometimes it can be some other people's negative thoughts and those kind of energies as well. So if that energy is in a particular space, it can be in our chakras, it can be in our aura, it can be in our joint, it can be in our organs, it can be where we live, in a clinic, anywhere. So using particular techniques,
Mm,
we clean that energy. So we clean those dirty energies and make sure that people who come into that space come into a clean space. So it's like keeping your house clean. I keep my house clean so when people come in, they feel comfortable and welcome.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's just doing it on that subtle level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Haran, I know you've worked in a lot of challenging contexts as well as lived in challenging contexts. What are your inner resources? And I know back then to now they would be very different, but particularly now, what are your inner resources that you use to align and anchor a higher state of frequency?
So when I first started, um, I guess I didn't have many tools.
Mm.
So pretty much just prayers. Just
Yep.
but at the same time, when I was doing that, I felt like there's um some sort of guidance sometimes, but other than that, I'd go back into the same energy and I was in the same kind of mindset as well. But then as I learned so many different tools and everything that I do now, I make sure that I do meditation every day and then I do exercises. And I also um, reflect on my own values and my goals and how I want to live my life. So, how do I do that? Reflecting, journaling, um, and I also used to have coaches as well in the past. This year, I didn't hire any coaches, but until last year, I had coaches. So many years, because one of the thing, even though I'm a coach, if I want to go to the next level, that's in my blind spot. In what we say in coaching, what I normally tell people is that our neural pathways has boundaries. So, for example, if I can um, use a story or a metaphor, if you're learning to ride bicycle, for example, and if you learn to balance the bicycle and then you can ride the bicycle, but then after that you don't really practice, you just let go. Um, Next time you take the bicycle, you can probably get to that level because your neural pathways, the neural boundaries up to that level. But there are people who can stand up on the bicycle and then they can still balance without holding onto the handles because their neural pathway is actually expanded. Yeah. So, likewise, with everything that we do, we have a neural boundary. We have to expand it. Once we expand that neural pathway or neural boundary, then we have new resources, new,
Mm.
new awareness, new way to deal with a particular challenge that you felt like that's the biggest challenge in your life. Now, if you look at it, it's like the smallest thing that happened in your life. You know, how many times you felt like that?
Mm.
You face something, you feel like that's the most horrible thing that happened in your life, but then you overcome that, and then you few years later you look back and you laugh about it. So when you start meditating, reflecting, and doing some of these techniques that we use, your neural boundary expands. So all of a sudden, you'll have new resources, new way to deal with your challenges. I feel like I'm blessed in that way because I continue to grow, I continue to learn, and I'm open to learning.
Mm. I love what you shared there as well, how you're, creating those new neural pathways is like doing a hardware update,
Yeah,
right? And literally a positive manipulation of what we may have previously perceived to be something that's stuck or rigid or unchangeable, and then infusing that or overlaying that with the meditation and energetic work, which allows another level of change to take place with our subtle bodies that interpenetrate the physical to
Yeah,
leverage what you're doing with the behavior change side of things.
that's right.
Haran, what are some things that you're, I know, because I know you're a deep thinker. So what are some things that you're contemplating or learning at the moment?
There's a few different things. One of them is being authentic. I thought I was being authentic, but I was able to dive deeper into my subconscious to address one of the shame that I never dealt with. I thought I dealt with it, but when I went deeper into the subconscious, uh, it just came up. Um, and when I worked with that, one of the biggest learning for me from that is being authentic. It can be challenging. Sometimes you can't be authentic because people can take advantage of you if you are authentic and you share or overshare. And, or, if you say certain things, it can be dangerous as well in certain environment. So you have to be careful as well. But at the same time, be authentic as much as possible as well. Don't worry about what other people think, what other people might say. Be authentic, being that love, radiating that love. Because if I can't be authentic in a particular area, I'm not really loving that part of me. Does it make sense? So if I'm not accepting that part of me, I'm suppressing it. What that means is that I'm not accepting, and so therefore I'm not loving myself. And I remember, I think it was about a month ago, as I was driving, I was actually thinking about love. And it's not about the superficial love that we have towards people in your life, but it's about experiencing that oneness, looking at the tree and you feel the trees
Mm,
and everything, people around you, um, and all the animals and everything becoming you. I experienced this oneness um, about 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. This actually opened up another layer to it. There's like a download, there's like a reflection came to me. It was like, oh, love is God. But if love is God, I want to become one with God, that I am already, part of God, but I'm not really in that space yet. But if love is God, I need to be aligned to that love. We are multidimensional beings, yeah?
yeah.
I'll explain why I'm talking about this. So multidimensional beings. So we exist on this physical reality, and then we exist on so many different energetic realities as well that most of us, almost all of us, are not really aware of. So 99.9999% of the population is not aware of. But what I witnessed, that I'm existing on this physical form, and then I'm also existing on so many different dimensional realities as well at the same time. And I'm, so when I'm talking about that, I'm not another person living somewhere else. I'm the same person.
Yeah.
I have different, auras and different
Yeah.
levels of auras. All that is me as well.
Yeah.
And when you think about oneness, I'm actually one with everyone and every beings as well. But when we are connecting with someone, how we express that love, most people express that love because of, for various reasons. It could be lust, it could be because you want something from them. Some people can only love their husband or wife or their own children. They can't express or they don't feel that love towards anyone else or anything else. Why? So we need to work through everything that's stopping us from being that love.
Yeah.
When I talk about being love, um, it's not about being doormat for people. It's not about being doormat, but also love also means sometimes you have to be assertive. Sometimes you have to um, challenge people. Sometimes you may have to hurt someone's feelings as well. What I mean by that is like sometimes you just have to be honest about certain things and say it. But some people may not be ready to receive that honesty. They don't want to hear it. But then you just have to share it because you are authentic. As long as it doesn't harm another person. But then what is true love? You just have to, it's not about on a um, on an analytical level sitting here analyzing about love. You will never get there. It's about really living it and feeling it and experiencing it and becoming aware of it. That's
Mm,
the most important part of it.
mm,
Is in for example in psychology or counseling, we sit down and talk about people's personalities, behaviors, emotions, and all that. It's all on we are just analyzing things. But this is not about analyzing. This is about just becoming that, melting into that love that is God.
mm.
So what I saw while I was driving, I'm actually seeing everything as just visual, so visual for me as I was driving. I was seeing that I have many different forms, like it's just me, but then there are like millions of different hands and arms and legs and everything, right? And then some of them are not functioning properly. This I'm just using that to talk about love. Yeah. So some of those limbs that's not really working properly, I need to really work with those limbs to make it work properly. So this is the love that I'm talking about. So you can visually see it when I say it's these are the limbs, but
Mm,
it's very hard for me to put it into words because I felt like I'm here, but I'm everywhere. But at the same time, certain part of it is actually in mud. I need to clean that part, and then it
mm,
comes. So when I take a particular part of it and then I work with that, it becomes light and melts into love again.
mm.
Do you have the visual that I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah,
So this
yeah,
is how I experienced that. Since then, how I'm feeling, it's like another layer just opened up for me.
yeah.
Yeah, about probably 1.5, 2 months ago, one of my brothers, he hasn't been talking to me for almost 10 years. I reached out to him many times to ask why. He never answered. I didn't know. And then my father passed away about 6 months ago, and he came to the funeral and he started talking to all of us. He stopped talking to everyone in my head. I had so many questions. Why did what happened? So about 1.5 or month ago, I was diving into my heart. A particular heart chakra's petal
Mm,
was a bit droopy and a bit dark. And then when I opened up, it's that um, pain in terms of my relationship with my brother. And then I worked with that opened up, and then what I experienced was just gratitude for everything in my life, just love and gratitude. So these are the things that I'm kind of diving deeper into. Well, I can't say this is an overnight thing. This has been kind of going on for probably almost 10 plus years now, but now it's getting really intense.
It's amazing, and it's such a synthesizing of so many layers of truth, and I suppose concepts of esoteric teachings, getting to have an embodied experience of them,
Yeah,
which is really amazing.
yeah,
As you were sharing about the broadening the definition of love, it reminded me of, like, yeah, there is no other.
yeah,
And yet we have this experience of being others, and the beautiful paradoxes that we live in, like the authenticity and overcoming things like people pleasing, and yet there's no other. But all of these sit side by side. And I
yeah,
think for people who are, and this is a big generalization, but maybe sometimes for people who find themselves being sensitive or empaths or whatever language resonates, being truly authentic to what's a whole yes or a whole no, or a fully congruent things that we want to say or not say, can be a really challenging thing.
yeah. I think different challenges will teach us how to deal with it. But at the end of the day, it's about our own growth.
Mm,
Yeah. For me, that's the most important part of it.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, you're totally saying yes to your curriculum in this life, and I love that.
Yeah. At the moment, I'm diving deeper into myself,
Mm,
doing a lot of meditation nowadays. Um, and also I'm working as well.
mm,
I work for Kids First Australia. I'm one of the caring dads practitioners there. So I work with fathers who perpetrate violence. I do that, and I have my own practice that I'm focusing on that as well. And I want to be able to travel around the world, especially where I came from. I want to go back and probably stay there for some time, sharing with people what I learned and helping them become more independent financially as well. So these are some of the things that I want to do, uh,
mm,
something that I'm really passionate about.
mm,
And also help people live their truth, find their purpose, and get aligned to their higher self,
mm.
and live from that space.
Yeah.
That's also my long term. Um, I don't know how to word it. Is it a passion, my soul, my sole purpose, or
Mm,
my goal? Yeah,
mm. It's amazing how deep you've gone and to continue to go in both ends of the spectrum, right? Like working with that fathers who have been perpetrators of domestic violence is a pretty acute end of the DV spectrum.
yeah.
What's that like, and how can we reframe and reimagine and cultivate healthier family cultures?
Where to begin? Very good question. I think working in this space for almost 15 years, one of the things is that everything that we are doing, it's just a drop in the ocean. It's not enough. And the funding from the government is not enough. And also what we are doing. I feel like some of the programs out there is too clinical, and a lot of men who come into that space, they just want to put a tick next to their name so they look good to the court or child protection services. So, if somebody really want to have a healthier, loving family, it needs to start from you, individuals, focusing on themselves, their behaviors, and what's happening for themselves. And their behavior, if their behavior is not healthy, if it's if your behavior is not helping your family feel safe, then you have to take accountability and responsibility as well for your behavior. That comes with awareness. A lot of men are not really aware that they're doing all that. It's not that they are not aware, but they are very complacent. Because of that, they are using violent behavior or abusive behavior unconsciously as well, consciously as well, and then unconsciously as well. Consciously, because some people wanted to just control and manipulate and um, dominate. Unconsciously, because that's what they learned from their parents or the environment and the patriarchy and the our society. So there's a lot that I can talk about because
Mm. It's complex.
it's a very complex issue. There's so many dynamics as well.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I think it comes down to men to owning it and saying, yep, I'm using this particular behavior, abuse and violence, and I need to take responsibility for it. And if you find it very difficult to change that behavior, then reaching out to professionals
Yeah.
to get some help. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there are support services available, and a rise, which is promising to see, of men's work,
Yeah.
various types, which is great, because we've got to hope that that can ripple out to create greater social and then family unit changes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think starts with you investing in yourself. Some of you might be using drugs and alcohol. That's causing a lot of problem. That's not the only thing that causes family violence, but there's a lot. So reaching out to someone is the most important thing that you can do if you really truly care about your family.
Mm.
So I would recommend you to probably Google it. Like, I'm not quite sure about the audience where you might be from. So just Google for help. There's nothing wrong with you taking responsibility for your behavior. But if you hide it, if you lie, and if you keep it to yourself, then you're going to lose your loved ones, and you're going to, you know, your children going to learn the same behavior as well, and it's going to
Mm.
continue.
Yeah, that vulnerable act is a hugely courageous thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Yeah. Haran, thank you so much for your time. Is there any parting thoughts before we say goodbye today?
No, I think thank you for your time as well and all the questions. Good questions. You asked a lot of good questions, and also sending my love and gratitude to all the people um, watching this video as well. And Sarah is amazing. She's a healer. I learned so much from you, Sarah, and always appreciate your love and care and friendship and everything that you share in this world as well.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you.